So has anyone ever come up to you and asked you to go Greco? Well, this person's probably a wrestler. And would you believe it? They're part of one of the oldest sports in the world. I myself am a wrestler. I've been doing it for 11 years, and in this time I've rubbed elbows with many of the top wrestling coaches in the country and the state. In this speech, I'll explain the different styles of wrestling, what sets them apart, what wrestling does to your body, both the good and the bad, and also some famous people who come out of the sport. What you probably don't know, unless you're in the sport or you know a little bit about it, is that there isn't just one style of wrestling. The most common around the world, or the two most common around the world, they have popularity in the United States, but it's on the world stage is where they really get big, is Greco-Roman and freestyle wrestling. Now, according to the International Federation of Associated Wrestling Styles International Wrestling Rules, in Greco-Roman wrestling, it is strictly forbidden to grasp the opponent below the belt line, or to trip him, or to use legs actively to perform any action. In freestyle wrestling, however, you can trip the legs, and you can use your legs to perform actions. Now, the two things that sets all these sports apart is just rules and how you wrestle them. But Greco-Roman and freestyle are basically the same, except for the leg stuff, like I explained. But also, you can lock your hands when you're on top of the opponent, and this will come in. I'll explain this more when I get into the difference between these styles and folk style. Also, scoring is different. In Greco-Roman and freestyle wrestling, throws are is where the big points are scored. As you can see, it gets pretty crazy too. In throwing, if you take your opponent from his feet to the ground, that's 3. If you go from his feet to his back, that's 5. Now, folk style wrestling, which is the most common amateur style in the United States, the difference between this and freestyle and Greco is that you can't lock your hands here on top of the opponent. Also, throws aren't as important. They're cool and they get a big wow from the crowd, but it's not as important. A takedown, explains Phil Henning in the Predicament Wrestling Scorebook, is awarded after one of the neutral wrestlers gets behind their opponent and forces them down to the mat, their stomach, or the sides of their knees. Takedown is what you want to get in folk style. Now, it is important in freestyle and Greco, but like I said, throwing is what you want to do. Also, in folk style, 3-point near fall, asserts Phil Henning, is awarded after the offensive wrestler holds the defensive wrestler down for a near fall or tear for 5 or more seconds. That's where the points come in folk style wrestling. You gotta expose his back to the ground. Now, I have a video of one of the cooler moves you can do in Greco. It's called the flying swirl. So. And it's just an example of how crazy you can get on the mat. Now, wrestling also affects the body. A negative and prevalent stereotype of wrestlers from people outside the sport is that we starve and kill ourselves to get down to weight. While this might be true for some wrestlers, and it is by no means advocated, in a study done by the Department of Physical Education and Health Promotion at the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh, indicated that Division III college wrestlers remain relatively weight stable with little change in body count during competitive wrestling season. I quote, "While muscular power is apparently maintained, muscular strength may decline a little. Our findings suggest that these wrestlers benefit from a training program that emphasizes in-season strength maintenance." Now, if you've had any interaction with a wrestler while he's trying to diet, you know we get crabby and tired, but our bodies are doing just fine. Wrestling is, by definition, a high-contact sport and puts competitors at a high risk for bodily injury. The NCAA injury surveillance system states that injury rate for college wrestlers is 9.6 injuries per 1,000 athlete exposures. Common injuries include ankle and wrist sprains, overtraining syndrome, which is where you work so hard your body just basically stops working or quits, and also dehydration. I myself, last year, tore my meniscus, which also lodged in my knee joint, caused me unable to move my knee, and I had to go in for surgery. Unfortunately, this was a season-ending injury. I was not able to compete in conference or regionals. Now, while most wrestling stars are not famous the world over, many have made it into pop culture, and all have made a deep impact on the world of amateur wrestling. First one is Cael Sanderson. In his early life, Cael was the third of 4 Sanderson brothers to win high school state wrestling titles in Utah, wrestling for his local high school in Heber City, Utah. In high school, Sanderson had 123, 127, and 3-loss record with 4 state titles. He went undefeated in 4 years of college wrestling, wrestling for Iowa State University, going 159 wins and 0 losses, winning 4 consecutive NCAA titles. His claim to fame was in 2004, he took the wrestling gold at Athens, Olympic gold at Athens, Greece. You see him there, just living it up. So, one person who probably had an enormous impact on Sanderson, and also had an impact on myself, was Dan Gable. Early in his life, Dan didn't wrestle his freshman year because rules didn't allow it, but until his last match of his senior year in college, mind you, from sophomore year in high school to his last match in college, he did not lose a single match. In his last year of college, though, his last match of college, though, he did lose the NCAA championship to Larry Owens. Unfortunately, tragedy struck Dan in his sophomore year. He lost his sister was murdered. His sister was murdered by a family associate. This drove Dan to excellence, where he wanted to keep his parents' mind off his sister. His claim to fame, though, is in 1972. He won the Olympic gold from wrestling. The important thing about that, though, and what's really impressive, is he did not give a single point up to his opponents. That's everyone in the world. During his run to the title, he didn't give up a single point. He's also contributed greatly, though, in coaching. From 1978 to 1986, he coached the Iowa Hawkeyes, and they won NCAA titles each year. He also coached until 1978, and his record dual mate was 355 wins with only 21 losses and 5 ties, which included 15 NCAA titles and 21 straight Big Ten titles. During the speech, I hope I've changed some of your opinions and stereotypes about wrestling. If not, at least remember the different styles of wrestling, what sets them apart, what wrestling does to your body, and also some famous people who come out in sport. Also, you don't know what to do if anyone ever comes up to you and asks you to go Greco.